JJK episode 3 came out. It was a lot to digest, so let's talk about it. So, wow. This was, in the manga, this was already exactly how it was in the anime, but the anime actually did it so much better. And it was basically just an exposition from Tengen explaining everything that we need to go before starting the Culling game. And it is a lot to take in all at once, but it is a very necessary thing because once you're in it, there's no like point in time or opportunity to start explaining these random things. It would feel out of place. So this was a very needed moment in the show. And honestly, it was done so well in the anime because in the manga, it was just done like full on facial expressions and the characters' faces with just text on this page, and then it was just you kept reading with some pictures here and there. But the anime did such a good job with like showing the rules and moving the rules around, and then showing Japan and like moving the colonies and moving like all the spatial stuff around, and just like having the facial expressions of these characters show up in front of the rules while they're talking about it. And the way they were doing all of this in and out stuff with the rules and with the explanations of like Kenjaku, that was a big reveal in this episode, right? The reveal of Kenjaku, the name of the curse within Geto's body that has been living for so long, because as Tengen said, there is a plan with Sukuna that Kenjaku has. But all of that stuff was done so well in the anime because we got so much imagery, so much stuff happening that it kept the viewers engaged. I know this was like very taken badly online, and with like I saw like IMDb has like a 7.7 review on it, which is by far like people treat sevens as bad, but sevens are like above average. So a 7.7 is really good for an exposition episode, and it shouldn't be hated on as people are. It was a very good and engaging episode, and the anime did the best it could with what content was in the manga. They couldn't have done this any better. And if this episode somehow did not help you understand the Culling games, I did make a Culling games explanation video that I will link down in the description below that you guys can check out, where I went through them rule by rule and explained each rule and what they meant in the context of the Culling games. So go check that out if you want to. And before we get into the big topics of this episode, I want to talk about something that Tengen brought up, and it's actually Kenjaku's main goal, his objective. And I personally am a big fan of this like villain archetype because it's something that I haven't seen before and I really enjoy it. And it's the fact that Kenjaku's goal is to force the evolution of all human beings throughout the land of Japan, meaning that he's doing the Culling games to remove the weaker versions of the sorcerers and figure out a way in which the strongest sorcerers then merge with Tengen to create this next level being. He's just curious and basically like a scientist saying like, I want to see the evolution and I'm going to forcibly cause the evolution to happen, and I've done all of this stuff in order to do that. I just think that's very interesting and cool and an interesting motive. It's not very much like very villainy where he's like, oh, I'm just evil to be evil, or I'm being evil because I was done wrong in the past or something. It's very much just, no, I want to see what the human evolution can look like, and I'm going to forcibly create it. And then, they talk about how like they can force Tengen to do it because Geto has curse manipulation, and Tengen's more of a curse now than a human because of the assimilation going wrong 12 years ago. Yada, yada, yada. That gets all explained in the episode. But there's big points in this episode that I would like to discuss, so let's get into those. First thing, Tengen had the back of the prison realm, meaning that they can get Gojo out, but it requires certain tools to do so, which is the inverted spear of heaven, which is what Toji used against Gojo back in the hidden inventory arc, but that is something that either Gojo destroyed or sealed away abroad. And then they need the black rope, which also was expended against Gojo last year, meaning they have no way to break out Gojo, and Gojo caused his own like breakability to go wrong. And Megumi and Itadori and also Yuta were like, oh my god, why did Gojo do all these things? We can't even save him now. But then it gets revealed that there is a player in the Culling games that has been alive for 1,000 years that goes by Angel that has the ability to undo curse techniques. So meaning we're going to have to get with this person in order to figure out how we can free Gojo. Next thing was that Yuta's reasoning for being abroad, and this is something that people are actually really confused about, and like why, or Yuta's relevancy and why Yuta even has Rika to begin with. And it's just basically the fact that Gigi or Gege, however you like to pronounce the name, or however you actually do pronounce it, the intention of JJK 0 was to have it be one and done, and then that would be the person's access in making their next serialized manga. But Gigi liked JJK Zero so much that they just wanted to continue the story of JJK. So they went along with that, and then that ended up bringing Yuta back in the story. So the fact that Rika is in the story is just kind of a reasoning of that was not really intended to be the ending of Yuta, and we're meant to continue it. And then also just why Yuta wasn't relevant now was because he was in Africa, but then now there's a reasoning to why he's in Africa given the plot that's being driven right now. Next, we have the fact that Choso and Yuki are deciding to stay back in order to protect Tengen. They needed two people to stay back, and Choso and Yuki were the ones that, raised their hands and said, we'll stay back in order to protect Tengen. So shout out Choso and Yuki. They won't be participating in the Culling Games as they will be protecting Tengen. Now, Maki makes a declaration that she will return to the Zenin house in order to retrieve the cursed tools and meet up with Panda, and also the fact that, she might be able to easily get in there as Megumi Fushiguro is the leader of the Zenin clan now, so she's like, I'll just get in and take the tools. So, shout out Maki, she'll be doing her own quests there. And then next we had that Yuta decided to join a colony immediately. Yuta's basically like, I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to go seek out information and start participating in these colonies. To me, that just sounds like Yuta wants the box. Yuta is the GOAT. He just wants the box. He just wants to start getting into it. He doesn't want to waste any time. And he said he will go into a distant colony, so he doesn't have to fight like friendly people like Megumi or Itadori or anyone else that decides to join, and there won't be any confusion on where he goes. So he's going into a really far away one, so he'll be kind of isolated on his own in his own colony while we do our own thing in our side of the Japan, I guess, right? And then Megumi and Itadori are tasked into basically recruiting for help, and the recruitment suggestion was in Hikari, who is, if you guys don't remember, I believe it was mentioned in Season 1 or JJK 0 or even in both, that there is a student in JJK that basically got expelled, and he's very strong. This Hikari person has been mentioned to be very strong, and even in this episode, they said, yeah, is Hikari strong? And then Yuta was like, well, if he tries, he's stronger than me. And Maki's like, that's not possible. Well, we'll find out. And then the anime did this wonderfully. If you guys look back at around the time when they stopped talking about the Culling Games with Tengen, basically there's that tree diagram that shows what every character is tasked to do and what their end goal is. So like Maki, Megumi, Itadori, and Yuta, all their trees after completing their goals come down to participating in the Culling Games, while as Choso and Yuki's tree is separate from them that just says to defend Tengen. So it's a very brilliant way that the anime did it, and again, I'm telling you guys, if you read the manga and then you watch the anime, you would be so appreciative of how well they adapted this. If you're an anime only, maybe this felt a little slow to you and maybe it felt a little boring. But I'm telling you, this was a wonderfully done episode and the animation was so engaging. I was very much pleased and surprised on how well they did it, because I went into this episode thinking, man, are they just about to give us an exposition and we're just gonna get characters talking to each other? But we got that with such good animation and so many like different things. I'm still stuck up on it. Those rules flipping around with that sound effect of it like rolling through like and then goes into the new rule was phenomenal. And then being able to see these character trees as like what is Maki gonna do, and then the line connecting to what Maki's goal is, and then all these lines connecting to one another, even especially when they were explaining Kenjaku, was phenomenally done. This episode deserves way more credit than people are giving it. And I love the scene with the ending of it while they were all leaving, and Itadori thanks Choso for all he's done, and then Choso tries to act cool and says, hey, don't die out there, and then Itadori just keeps on walking, and then we get Choso crying, because he's just seeing his, like, brother go, and he's like, wow, he's grown up, right? And he's crying, and then Yuki's like, are you crying? And then Choso's like, stop, just shush, don't talk to me. I just love that. Choso is literally the GOAT. I brought it up in my last video or maybe 2 videos ago, but basically if you say Choso's the GOAT, he's competing with 30 other GOATs, but who cares? Choso is the GOAT. He's a phenomenal character and I love this guy. And now the last thing we get in this episode was basically the introduction of this comedian. He seems to be a failed comedian. No one's laughing. People are kind of yawning while he's doing his comedic act. And then he goes in the back and then, the person, I don't know if it's his boss or his agent, talks to him saying, hey, man, you're not funny, blah, blah, blah. And then the guy there was like, hey, man, I do think you're funny. People are just not understanding it, yada, yada, yada. But basically, it all just came down to this character named Takaba is a participant in the Culling game, and then the episode ends. And that's it, episode 3 of JJK. And I would love to talk about the 2 newly introduced characters within the Culling games in Takaba and Angel, who is named Hana. If you guys saw the little, again, like those tree diagram boxes, Hana, I would love to discuss about them, but there hasn't been anything to be shown to discuss about. Love their designs, love how they introduced these characters. I think they looked great in their introduction. I can't wait for future introductions of future characters, but just again, like I said before, episode 3 was phenomenally animated to what it had to animate. This was the best version of an animation adaptation you can get to a manga chapter like this. And from here, things will start picking up for sure. I mean, this is the Culling Games arc, right? You are going to get that Battle Royale promise as what it is building up to. It's just you need a build up to it. You can't just get straight into the fight without story being built. So, very important stuff being discussed here, but a lot of stuff to digest. We're going to get into some action real soon. Not sure when. I'm not really keeping up with the manga. I'm not like trying to look and see what's coming up next. I like to actually watch it and remind myself, as I've read this like 3 or 4 years ago at this point now. So don't know what's coming next, but I promise you it's going to start picking up more and more, and it's just going to get real good real fast. So take these times to just digest what you have to until we really get into the nitty gritty. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this episode. Let me know if you were a fan. Let me know if you were not a fan. Let me know if you were a manga reader and actually appreciate of what happened, if you agree with what I'm saying. Tell me what you expect. Let's have a discussion in the comments. I'd love to talk to you guys about this episode. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.